Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. Today's video, we are doing G2 versus Fnatic Game 4 of the LEC Summer Split Finals. Cool. That's an intro. Cool. Let's just get right into it. Alrighty, so if you're familiar with any of my VOD reviews, we talk a whole lot about the draft. I love talking about the draft. And so I haven't looked at this draft too much, so this is going to be pretty fresh when we're going through it. Just base overview when I'm looking at this. I think G2 overall has a better draft. Let me just say this. I am a big proponent of red side. I think red side is so much better than blue side in most situations. It blows my mind in NA how blue side is so prioritized. There's certain series where it's better to have blue side. Like when you're drafting against clutch, sometimes it's better to be on blue side because there's a priority pick that they specialize in that you want to ban out and you want to take it. So I don't know. I'm such a big fan of red side. I think red side is so much better in this meta. Flex picks aren't super huge. I mean, you can flex a little bit around on blue side, but I think counter pick is just so important for setting up your composition. And that's exactly what G2 does. And they don't necessarily get like a hard counter pick or anything like that, but you're able to set up more options. If you're a good 1-3-1 team, red side is so much better because you can set up your draft to actually get the 1-3-1. And if you're facing another team that can do 1-3-1 as well, if they're on blue side, it's so difficult to actually get your 1-3-1 in the draft. And if you're actually willing to play side lanes, it's better. Maybe that's why in NA they draft blue side so much more because no one plays side lanes. Maybe that's why. Just a little bit of subtle flame there. All right, cool. So overall, I do think G2 slightly edges out in the draft because they have more options. That's really what I'm going to look at when I look at drafts, who has more options. All right, so let's just get right into it. So, so again, they're just swapping the Silas and Akali. Again, I'll just say it again. Levels 1 through 5, usually Akali favored. Level 6, usually Silas favored. And then at level 9 at Gunblade and at level 9, usually Akali favored because she had the superior wave clear and the kill threat with the Gunblade. So that's usually how the matchup goes. Late game, it's kind of whatever. Kind of whoever's ahead and whoever's playing the matchup better is usually who wins in the later stages of the game in the side lane. But generally, you're just team fighting anyways. Both champions are great at team fighting. Boom. Alrighty. So let's look at Fnatic's draft. So I think this might be the first time Fnatic's on blue side. So G2 actually selected red side. I think red side is so much better in this series. Already talked about why. So they get the Akali and the Shin. So whenever you pick Akali and Shin, those are both going to be flex picks. You would imagine you know where they're going to go. It's going to go mid and support. But there's somewhat of flex picks is the reason why it's picked early in the draft. So maybe they can get a counter matchup in the top lane. And actually have their good 1-3-1 setup because they're perfectly fine with taking the Akali into the Silas matchup. So maybe you can get a counter matchup in the top lane and you can have a 1-3-1 setup. It's kind of the idea of why you'd pick a Shin this earlier. So we get the Akali first and then we trade for the Silas and Gragas, which is fine. Gragas gives you great disengage and Silas, you know, they're happy with taking the Silas and the Akali matchup. Hasn't worked out so good so far, but they're happy to take that matchup. And then you see the jungler pick, which is what I fully expected, the answer with the jungler on Fnatic's side, so that you can save. You don't have to pick Reckless's pick right here because it's hard to ban him out of 80 carries because he has so many options. He can play the Karma, he can play Xayah, he can play Kai'Sa, he can play Ezreal, he can play Tristana. So in this series, so it's actually pretty difficult to ban him out. You'd have to think the champions that pair well with Shin and lane are going to be the Tristana and the Ezreal champions that are self-sufficient and do decently in the laning phase, can do well with the Shin, so Shin can make map plays. Alrighty. Okay, and then let's look at the rest of the draft. Okay, so Lee Sin is picked at this point, as expected, like we just said. You can save Reckless pick for the second phase because you can get him what he wants. And then you're trying to get counter pick for your top lane if you're able to get it. But it's unlikely you're going to be able to get it, but you might. Okay, let's look at the bans in the second phase. So whatchamacallit? G2 ban out the Gangplank, which is fine. I was thinking maybe they pinch the 80 carry pool, and I'll talk about that in a second. But they ban out Gangplank. Fnatic ban out Kai'Sa, which is great for them because they have more picks that they want to play. Unless Perks pulls out, the Syndra in this game or something like that. But they have more picks that they're willing to play. I don't think it's a very good Syndra game, but they ban out the Kai'Sa and then G2 answer with the Ezreal. So Ezreal, as I said before, does similar things to the oh my gosh, the Tristana in the laning phase in terms of it lets Shin play more aggressively around the map. But you do want to ban out the Ezreal rather than the Tristana, because if you have the Tristana comboed with Karma in the mid lane, it makes their siege potential actually pretty good. You can chunk people so hard with Ezreal Karma. It's actually insane. So the Ezreal ban's great there. They ban out the Fnatic bans out the Kled because they're not going to be able to get counterpicked this time. So they want to ban out the Kled because they can't just blind pick the Jax. So banning out the Kled's good there. I was thinking maybe it'd be better for G2 if they banned out Tristana Ezreal. And then that would have forced Reckless onto and they picked the Xayah. But maybe if they ended up banning Tristana as their first ban, then Fnatic wouldn't ban out Kai'Sa, and they would have just got Kai'Sa anyway. So maybe the Gangplank ban was better. But like, let's say they ban the Tristana with their first ban, right? Or ban Ezreal with their first ban, and then Fnatic still ban Kai'Sa, then you actually ban out the entire AD carry pool, and it forces forces Reckless onto like Jinx or Sivir or something like that, something that nobody's really playing right now and aren't super meta, or forces them onto the Karma, which you think, if Reckless on Karma, that's great. But it does make their composition pretty low damage. Unless you get a really aggressive top laner. But if Shin's a top laner, it makes it more difficult. So it'd make your draft more difficult. But I would imagine if they banned out if Fnatic or G2 banned out Tristana at their first ban or Ezreal at their first ban, then Fnatic wouldn't have banned out Kai'Sa unless they show that they're going to ban 2 AD carries, and they would have left one open so that they can get the trade of the Kai'Sa and Xayah. Cool. Alrighty, so I was expecting maybe they banned the Xayah, but they banned the Kai'Sa instead. Fnatic did. I think Xayah is a little bit better, much better at one item, has a utility, all that good stuff. So anyways, so now G2 get the Xayah, which is 100% expected what they're going to pick, and then Fnatic pick the Karma and the Tristana. I fully expect the Tristana, and then the Karma is going to go into the top lane, obviously. And then G2 answer with Irelia. So answer with Irelia. Cool. So the Irelia is going to have the laning phase isn't like amazing against Karma. I mean, Karma just slams everybody in lane, but you actually have some kill threat onto the Karma. Not a whole lot. You have kill threat at 6, so if you're just like dashing around, then you get onto the Karma, she just tethers you and walks away from you, and is able to get out of your range. By the time the route is over, you're not able to actually queue onto them. But at level 6, you can do some interesting stuff because you can slow the Karma, jump onto her, and then channel your stun, and then stun her. And if you time it well enough that she's stunned while the root hits you, then she's not able to actually get away, and you can flash follow. If Karma flashes, you can just flash follow, and you have a lot of kill threat, as well as the setup with Gragas. You have a lot of kill threat in that side lane. So that's why the Irelia is a decent pick into the Karma. Let's skip forward in the draft a little bit to show what positions look like, and let's talk about win conditions and lane prioritization and stuff like that. You gonna switch? Okay. All right, everybody's where they're supposed to be. Okay, let's look at G2's composition because I want to look at this one first. This one's easier to explain. Okay, so on G2's composition, they have a great 1-3-1 setup. As I said, both of these teams are very willing to play 1-3-1, and 1-3-1 is great. So they're very, very, very willing to play 1-3-1. They have Thresh, Gragas, and Xayah, great disengaged champions. So amazing disengaged champions. And they have Sylas and Irelia, champions that do great in the side lane. So Sylas in a Akali matchup is pretty whatever. But Sylas magic resist because whoever you're going to be matching the Sidewind is going to be a magic damage dealer, whereas Fnatic's comp don't have that luxury that they're going to have to build. If they're going to match in the Sidewind, they'll have to build for another thing. And in the later stages of the game, Karma does not deal well in the side lane. So whoever matches with the Karma will have a big advantage if Karma actually does matching in the side lane. So the Irelia and the Silas. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember names of champions right now or names of anything. Can itemize really well for magic resistance and play super heavy for sidelines. So G2 actually can play really, really, really well around sidelines. The only thing that's bad about it is that Fnatic still do have the Shin, and so that's why the Shin's a good pick, is that the Shin can make the side lane an uneven matchup pretty quickly, and G2 do not have a big answer. They don't have a Tom Kench or anything like that to answer. They just have their team that's going to be in the mid lane. So they have a very, very, very solid 1-3-1 composition and a very easy way to itemize to play through that win condition. They also have a Xayah and Thresh, so such a safe laning phase, also a kill-oriented laning phase. So if you land a hook, there's so much, you land a hook, and even at level 3, there's so much utility that you might be able to get a kill off that. So it actually has a kill-oriented lane, a very defensive lane. That's why Xayah Thresh is so good. You can play aggressive, you can play defensive, and then once this duo is at one item, Xayah actually has so much more utility than a Tristana at one item that is actually worth a lot more when you get to those mid-game neutral fights and stuff like that. And then both champions are great at 3 items. Reckless Tristana though, if you get to the late game, you can do some cool stuff. But definitely just favor Xayah as a champion overall. If you can get the Xayah this late in the draft, it's pretty insane. Cool. So as I said before, have a great 1-3-1 composition. Decently spikes into the mid game. I think it does in general better in the mid game just based off of the matchups than Fnatic's comp, and can have some really great late game options because they have that 1-3-1 win condition. They can play around team fights. The only thing that's a little bit different is Fnatic's Siege is a little bit better with the Karma and the Tristana. So if you do get behind and you're just getting sieged on with a Karma pelting you and you're not able to get some of those advantages in the early game, it can get a little bit weird in the mid to late if you're getting sieged on by the Karma and Tristana. But you have this great 1-3-1 setup with the Gragas, Xayah, Thresh, and then the 2 side laners that are going to win in the side matchup because of the way they can itemize. As long as you're at a neutral game state when you get to the end, or get to kind of a little bit the later portions of the game, mid to late, then if you can get those 1-3-1 setups safely and you can nullify what the Shin wants to do and stuff like that, you can be in a great position to just snowball through your side lanes in the late game. So G2 has a great draft. I do slightly favor them in the draft. Looking over at Fnatic's draft, so they have the Karma top, Baraxa on Lee Sin. They have Nemesis on Akali, and you can see the rest, so I don't know why I'm saying all the things. Okay, so in the early portions of the game, you can do similar things to what we said in the last game. So the only drawback is Reckless on Tristana, so he can play pretty safe and he can instantly clear the wave. But Xayah can also instantly clear the wave after their first back, especially on one item. So I would have actually favored Fnatic banning out the Xayah and giving them the Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa's not able to actually match in the wave clear and the safety that a Tristana can offer, or that a Xayah can offer. So so there is that. So they can still do that same type of setup again with the Tristana and Shin. You do have some kill threat in lane with how Tristana's play pattern is. So there is some kill threat. It is a little bit more difficult into this, as the Thresh can actually just flay the Shin out of his dash. And as well as, if you get onto the Xayah, you drop a Lantern, and they have so much more CC on the side of G2's bottom lane. So it's a little bit more difficult to make those types of plays that we talked about before that was in the last game. So, but you can actually play a kill-oriented lane in this. But I do say this is like the negative side of the lane matchup in terms of bottom lane's Fnatic versus G2. You do have those options that, you get level 6 on Shin, he gets his Sightstone, and he just ults onto the Lee Sin or the Akali when she wants to go in. So you can make those similar types of plays. This team really spikes pretty well in the mid game. So Akali, obviously, Lee Sin, obviously, and then I think Bwipo ends up building Tank Karma in this game. So that gets a little bit interesting. This team comp has some weird things going on. They can do some cool things in the early game to get advantages. You don't win in the side lanes later into the game, and sieging is pretty decent. So you have pretty decent siege and some disengage and objective setup. This team honestly kind of has to snowball a little bit early in the game in order to win the game. It's going to be very difficult to win the game if you're at an even game state and you get to the late game and G2 is 1-3-1 in you and just sieging you down like that. And you don't win in the side lanes. Team fights are a little bit kind of like mechanically intensive. So yeah, normally you'd say Lee Sin, you said this champion falls off in the late game. He's just a kick bot. But if it's on Broxa, this champion's actually decent in the late game. You can do some interesting things. So you do have a lot of burst potential and like reset type of stuff with the Tristana. So if you can get a lead and then you can siege the enemy down, get the Baron, and you can close out the game. So if you snowball with this composition, you can definitely snowball with this composition and win the game. So you can snowball with this composition, win the game, get some cool fights in the late game if you're in the lead, and you can force some fights. With some nifty Lee Sin plays with Shen on there, or some Akali things, or maybe Akali picks somebody out in the side lane. If she gets really far ahead. So I think this composition is much harder to play out. So you probably need the snowball, get advantages with the Lee Sin, that type of stuff. And then close out the game as fast as you can, which is going to be hard to do against G2. I think G2 has a lot more options. They have a great team fight. They spike decently in the mid game. They can actually mostly match you in the mid game, but they don't even have to fight you. They can just play side lanes and disengage constantly. Unless Fnatic's really far ahead and they can just siege you down, get big gold advantages, it's actually a lot easier to play out G2's composition, in my opinion. Alrighty, cool deal. That was the draft. We just talked about the draft forever because I got a little sidetracked. All right, so let's get into the actual game. All right, cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that. You watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? That's a thing. Alrighty. Cool. Both junglers starting bottom side. Whippo just actually gets a decent trade. I don't know what he was actually doing there. Because normally you position like that because you want to catch your laner coming in because you get a better trade, but you're not going to out-trade Karma level 1. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Alrighty. Let's see. Both junglers are starting bottom side. So they're doing very similar paths. Obviously, Broxa's getting the Krugs clear, so he'll get the quicker level 3, you would imagine. It's very interesting where Broxa goes after this. There's so many... Every lane is gankable for both players. It is difficult to... there's not a big combo with Bwipo and Irelia, but if Irelia is playing really... Lee Sin and Bwipo... not like too much synergy there, but if the Irelia is playing crazy aggressive, then you can make some plays around there. Alright, it's going to be very interesting where Broxa goes now. Okay, it does look like he's doing a full clear towards top side. He's going to get his blue, and then you're there for Scuttle Crab. And Jankos is just shadowing right now. Essentially, he's just shadowing right now. Walked in through the lane right here because of how aggressive Wunder is playing. So that's why he's just waiting here to see if there's a lane gank coming in. And now they actually meet each other and they know exactly what each other did. They see their CS count and they're like, ha ha, I know what you have done. Oh, that was nifty. Wow, that was cool. Wow, that was so nice. He just jumped in out of vision to do that. Wow, that was really well played. He just walked back till he was leaving and then ward hopped over the wall. Out of vision. That was really, really cool. Now Lee Sin might just full clear right here. I was thinking maybe Jankos is going to walk through. So that TP is fine. So that TP is a defensive TP for Nemesis. And then it's not too far away from his lane, so he's able to just walk right back up. So that TP is fine. So Wunder does have TP advantage. And I was thinking Jankos is just going to walk down to double scuttle. Yep. And Fnatic's bottom lane is backing. So this should be free. Oh. They got a kill. Okay. Yeah, as I said, you have a lot of lockdown. If you're able to actually get onto them, then this is a kill lane, which you normally don't think about Shen. This is a kill lane. All right, Yankos does double scuttle, so he has a slight XP and gold advantage, you'd imagine. Oh, except for the kill right here, the assist gold. So similar positions for both junglers. But Broxa is getting the second Krug, so this might give him level 5 right here. Let's see. Like hyper focusing on whether Broxa. No, he doesn't get level 5, but he is going to be at an XP advantage because you get second Krugs are insane. Oh, that was neat. Dashed over the wall. Hello. He flays out the damage. That was really well played by Mickey. All right. Not a whole lot going on right now. Those things just walking around because I got the Tristana. He can play like this. Mickey just flashed. Nice. Nice. So that's the power of Tristana Shen. Is Tristana can play so far back and it's so hard to kill. Oh, they traded flashes though. Okay. That was actually a great flash by Mickey then. Okay, they're looking for a dive on Blippo. This dive is so hard to do if he does Mantra W. But he does Mantra Q. Maybe his W was down. Oh, wow. Perfectly done. Wow, that's just really well done by Yankos. And Caps. So he does lose a minion wave for this, though. So he does lose a minion wave for this. And then Nemesis is walking on bottom, but it's so hard to dive Thresh and Xayah if they're at full health. Especially Xayah has flash. And if Mickey gets his Aftershock early in the trade, it is so hard to dive. So just denies a minion wave, and then Caps TP's back. Nemesis doesn't have TP, so he can't just shove back and then try to make a play. Because he will also lose out a minion wave if the play does not work out. So G2's in a decent spot right now. Fnatic does have a lead. They might look to try to get this Cloud soon, but Cloud does so much damage. It's unless you like know you're gonna get it, it's difficult to do. Broxa does have a red buff though. Do red buff, then jump in the Cloud. It makes it a lot quicker to do. And they do have full river control in terms of vision, and they have entrance. So they have such good setup for this. They have this setup. The setup is based off of the power of the Tristana in lane, right? The Tristana in this lane. The power that they're having right now. And then also, whenever Silas made that play top, Nemesis shoved in, and then he got some vision around the bottom side. So that's why they're able to make that setup. Right. Looking for a little play around here. Nice. Nice. That's from their vision control that they've had. They spot him out. Okay, now they're in a little tricky position. Broxa does get out. Oh, this is when it goes bad, bro. Okay, they think they have numbers, but Wonder just TP'd back onto this ward back here because they just put these wards in right now. So they think they have a numbers advantage, so Reckless aggressively jumps in. They think, hey, I'm about to get a reset on Mickey, but Mickey actually does get out. And now Reckless is in such a tough spot because they're in a choke point with a Xayah. And so had they not have had a numbers disadvantage, they may win this, but it does look like they're already going to lose anyways, and then Wonder is behind them. Oh. And this is like the worst possible thing ever. This is the worst thing ever. That you have a 1-3-1 composition and both of your solo laners get a kill. This is the worst possible thing that could happen for Fnatic right now. So they have this big lead, and then right here is the turning point of the game. Now you have a lead on the solo laners, which is the win condition of G2's composition. Makes it so tough. All right. Getting a little aggressive there, but chunked them enough to where they're not going to be able to make a play. And now somebody surely is going to die. Yankos has ultimate, right? Boom. Whippo doesn't have flash. Died 1,000 deaths. The only way they get anything there is if Broxa gets his Q on the Wonder. Even so, Wonder has 2 level advantage, so if he has his W up, probably doesn't die. And Lee Sin just dies as well. Okay. Silas got a good roam timing. I don't know how he got that because I couldn't see it, but maybe he shoved in the wave and Nemesis backed. Caps didn't TP down there. He just walked. Okay, Caps doesn't lose anything for that roam. And it's just they're playing really aggressive on top side, so they're trying to make a cross map play, or at least make sure that the Tristana doesn't play super aggressive because he had the timing to do that. All right, here we go. Here's the Shen play. It's exactly what we expected to see. Ooh, misses out on the R2. That's very unfortunate. Wait, how do you miss that? Oh, he just straight up missed that, but it doesn't matter. It still works out. Maybe they were coordinating that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're coordinating to where Shin was going to go up and Akali was going to go down so that they can't miss. But I think he just missed. That's all that happened. Okay, and with Caps down, you can make you start to make an objective play. None of the bot laners have TP, so this is going to be this is a man advantage on top side, whether or not Yankos joins or not. If they know this is happening, they can immediately walk up there, but they don't know it's happening. Now they actually have a priority advantage in top lane, but Wonder did just use his TPs. Or did just use his ultimates. They are actually going to get this. It's going to be interesting wherever they take that Rift Herald. It would be great to get Reckless ahead, obviously. They're playing really back right now because they don't know where... it's because Yankos is down here. Not they don't know where he is, because Yankos is down here. So. Sorry, I didn't see him. Wasn't paying attention. They're playing super far back because they know their jungler's on top side, so this is fine. They're going to lose a couple plates for it, but it's better they don't, if they get dove here and they lose they lose both of them and then they'll lose all of their plates. They'll give over a 1,500 gold swing, so. Yeah, it really sucks how far they're having to play back right now. Wow, this is really well done. So Fnatic's going to have to really make sure they get something for this Rift Herald for this to be worth. This is so bad. That's just straight up solo kill, right? Come on. Nope. Not going to happen. Oh, Reckless just had the flash. Oh, because Yankos was ganking. And they didn't know where... they knew where Thresh was. They were already pretty chunked, so he had to flash there. There's a Gragas cask. Okay. So, alright. They get this mid tower chunked. But that is definitely not where you want your gold. You don't want your gold on the Karma and the Lee Sin. You want your gold on Reckless. Or Nemesis is fine. It's definitely not where you want your gold. So, when we look at that overall play, they traded Rift Herald for 4 plates on bottom side. So 4 plates on bottom side for that they split between 3 people. And then you wasted a ton of time taking the Rift Herald. And you end up trading that for 3 plates on the mid tower for your Lee Sin and your Karma. Interesting. I guess I get 4 plates. Now Karma is out of mana. I was just TPing in. This surely is a death, right? Yeah, they should maybe... No, they have to base. Man. Tragedy strikes on the Rift. They make that play. They get TP'd on. Overall, the play was negative already for Fnatic. Then they lose the fight. And now they have no priority on this side of the map because their Karma is dead and they already lane swapped Nemesis to top. Broxah got chunked, and they know the enemy bot lane is coming back from base, so they can't play aggressive down here because they'll get rotated on by the Gragas. So you just have to base, give over the Ocean Drake, and you don't get the plates on bottom side because of the play they tried to make mid. Really, they should just be getting plates on Reckless. The idea is that Caps was on a back timing so they could get placement. It was maybe the only play they could make. But I would have to go back and look a little bit more and see whether or not they could have made the play. But it seems like they could have, because Tristana can get free push. You just spawn the Rift Herald, Caps is recalling, and then at worst, what happens is Caps TPs, and maybe you get a fight there, and you might win that fight, but you're not going to win this one. You can just rotate your entire team down there if you wanted to, just a shadow for Reckless to get it, because we're on a back timing. Not your entire team, not Nemesis, obviously. Wonder didn't have TP. Alright. The Wonder's build's pretty interesting. So he goes for the Ravenous. He's going purely for a 1v1 build. So he gets Ravenous, and he's starting to build Wit's End, which I think is so great in this game. When I saw this meme build, I was like, bro, here we go. If you're in the if you only want to play in the side lane, which is what they want to do with their comp, and you're going against 2 magic damage dealers, why wouldn't you build a Wit's End? You have so much sustain. It's insane. And it's gonna be a lifetime before he gets a Grievous Wounds, even if he even builds it. It does look like he's building towards it because he needs to. Grievous Wounds is decent in this game. Nice. G2's just getting more gold on their side laners. They're gonna trade 1-for-1 towers. But as I said, if you're getting gold on these solo laners, it's so much more advantageous than anything Fnatic's going to be able to do. And this game is actually so hard to play out now for Fnatic because they fumbled the early game so much. It's not like they had a huge advantage, but they needed the early game to go well. But they still have a chance in this mid game to like look for some good fights. But it's so hard once you get to this stage in the game. It's so hard to do anything against the Xayah, Thresh, and Gragas, and you're already going to lose all the side lanes. So it is so hard because the advantages we got in the side lane right now. It is actually very hard to play out this game for Fnatic now. Kali is about to get Grievous Wounds, so that's nice for the 1v1 against especially Aurelia. It's good for the 1v1 against Caps as well, but especially good if you end up being the one that matches. It's still very hard for Aurelia to kill the Karma, I think, because he went to tank Karma build, so it is still difficult to kill the Karma, but longer this game goes, it's kind of like the Jax philosophy. Aurelia is just going to hard snowball. As soon as he gets this Wit's End, he's going to be in a really good spot. And then he can start actually building towards his core itemization, which is Triforce. So what Fnatic can do right now is it's going to be so hard to make a play in the mid lane. Is that maybe they can get a pick off with Lee Sin, Akali, and like a Shin ultimate. Maybe they can get a pick off like that. That's something they can look for here, and get an advantage back in a side lane. So they don't just get 1-3-1 to death. If you can get a pressure point, maybe on Nemesis you get a pressure point, you get Tristana the 3 items, you start winning a side lane, and then you get a great team fight. That's Fnatic's way back in this game. Right now, G2's in a great position. So this game is not over, but definitely going very well for G2. They're at a slight advantage, and they have a game that's easier to play out in the mid to late game. Such a good comp, actually. All right. There we go. Oh, that's when he jumps away. I forgot about that. Oh my god, that was so bad, dude. Oh my god, that was so bad. Oh, I forgot about that. Everybody knows that happened, though. I forgot about that. Wow, that was actually what I was talking about. They get a great pick off. Start leveling out some matchups. Wow, G2's straight up going to go for the Baron. Yeah, it's so hard for them to do the Baron this early in the game, though. On spawn with no mountains. Yeah, that'd be so hard to do. And no true frontliner at this time in the game. It was so bad, dude. All you had to do was stand there. Ah, man. I think maybe he was scared of him flashing up, but I don't think he had flash. Oh, man. But if he flashes up, that was just bad. Okay, there's nothing to say about it. That was bad. Oh, man. Why did he jump, bro? All right, now G2 just want to play the side lane. They can push up for vision if they want. They have control of this. Corridor fights are good for them. Nice. So they can either play the side lanes or they can look for these like choke point fights. I say corridor fights a lot. Choke points are so much better for them. I mean, you just imagine it. Look, you have Xayah, you have Irelia who can do that Bobby Big ultimate. You have Thresh. So these type of fights are actually so much better. So much better for G2. I mean, you can do the imagination that like, you get a big bomb off that does AoE damage in these tight spaces or a good mantra Q. But I mean, that's okay, but definitely you favor like Xayah putting down her feathers everywhere, the big ultimate right here. Definitely not the favor. G2. So those like corridor fights right there where they're fighting for vision, if Wonder's in the fight, it's so much better for G2. And if you don't want to do that, you can purely play for side lanes if they want to. They have way more options. They can play for side lanes, they can push up into those tight corridors for vision control. All right, this is what you want to do, though. There we go. Then making that play bottom side, though. Does threaten the Baron, and Nemesis getting picked may spell disaster. Let's see. Let's see what actually happens. Shana's just going to keep pushing bottom side. Reckless has TP, so that's why he's doing that. But they are just going to have to give over Baron here, maybe? Oof. Alright, that's Baron most likely, right? Yeah. At least Infernal for sure. Infernal for sure. Okay. Hey, that's exactly the pick off you want to do, and then Tristana ended up getting a tower as well. So not too awful for Fnatic based on the game state. Like, that was a relatively even trade, and you're at a really disadvantageous position, and if you end up getting 6 items on Reckless and you're able to get to that fight and you get a good fight, then you straight up can win the game still. So that's not a bad idea. You have 3 items, but even in the 80 carry position. Oh wow, actually never mind. Even in terms of what items I have right now, but you would imagine they have a lot of gold. And Reckless gets picked. You actually get straight up body slammed, no flash. Like straight up, Yankos doesn't have to flash and body slams him. That's pretty bad. Yep, and they get that good fight. And this is Baron. And now the 1-3-1 composition is going to be unleashed. And now, unless Fnatic just gets a good fight here, this game is most likely over. If it's not over on this push, it's definitely over on next one. Next Baron, It's so hard to play this out. There's so many ways that can do lane optimization. Fnatic does not have a very decent form of engage. Their engage is so bad. It's like such niche engage. They do have a lot of follow-up. Like they can all jump forward. Every single champion can jump forward. And then Whippo can make everybody speedy quick. Yeah, straight up body slams them, no flash needed. And then as soon as you see Tristana jump, you just throw it where she lands. It's pretty bad to get picked like that, but I mean that was around getting vision into this quadrant. So they just had control of this quadrant, and that's why they try to make a play around there. Alright. Now we're sieging. They already got top tower, so that's why they have Wonder in the mid lane. Yeah, this game's over now, right? Yeah. Most likely, you'd imagine, right? If 3 minion waves going to crash at the same time, they want to take top tower, they can, but they don't need to. I mean mid tower, then they don't need to. Like to get that extra minion wave, not to take the inhibitor. This game's over, bro. Yeah, I think it was a hard one in the draft by G2. I think G2's draft was so much easier to play out. They had so much more win conditions and ways to actually get into the game. But Fnatic definitely could have won with their draft, but I really think it was a big draft win. I think the series is so much about red side anyways. Fnatic's draft didn't have a whole lot of engage. They lose out in the side lanes. Mid-game fights are kind of whatever. Maybe you get Nemesis really far ahead and you can win out one of the side lanes, maybe. but it's so much easier to do item optimization for G2, and they have so much disengage. So I think Fnatic kind of ran it down in draft. They didn't have any in primary engage for the 1-3-1. G2 had a perfect 1-3-1 setup. They don't really have any huge lane advantages other than maybe the bottom lane. They didn't snowball their bottom lane. They didn't snowball Nemesis. They put the gold onto Karma and Lee Sin in the mid game, which was very strange. I think that was just more of a being opportunistic. But anyways, that was a good game played by G2. I think their draft was way easier to play though. But props to them for winning. Hey, that's gonna be it for this one. We're gonna do game 5 right after this. So I'll see you on that one. Okay, bye-bye. 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 Bye.